So I've now finished the Nicosia Marathon and it's the day after here in Nicosia. As you can see, I've got a lovely background behind me of mountains and a microphone just to answer a couple of questions, and I've got a glamorous assistant behind the screen so I can answer them.
How are you feeling day post-marathon?
So actually I don't feel too bad, like a little bit of soreness in the legs, but really not that much. Like I'm fine going up and down stairs, just taking it a bit slowly. I expected to be more sore, but I think most of my pain during the marathon was just kind of impact. So now it feels okay, and I'm just super proud of what I've done. So it's because there's not really much physical pain, I'm just kind of basking and still taking in what I've managed to do.
Can you describe the race?
Yeah, so overall I think it went really well. If I think about the first 5k, I started out really slowly, and actually almost the entire field went ahead of me. I think there was one person behind me. Everyone started really fast, but I was just trying to stick to my pace because I knew that I wanted to be doing over 7-minute kilometers, so that I didn't basically fall off a cliff. I went slightly faster than that, but I think it's because it was net downhill at the beginning, so I was just trying to hold myself back. With the first 5 kilometers, there was a hill there, and I was pretty surprised. I thought it was an entirely flat course, but I decided at that point that I was just going to take my time, walk up the hill if I needed to, and just get comfortable with the race overall. Then it was out through the city and going more and more into nature and seeing mountains. So it was just really nice just keeping myself occupied. I didn't listen to any music or anything for the first 10 kilometers and just listened to the pace of music. And then as I started to get kind of a bit kind of fatigued from that, I put on an audiobook for the next like 10 to 25 kilometers, which worked well because we went through then the beautiful national park with like the amazing smell of the pine forest, which I think was probably one of my favourite pieces because the smell was amazing, and it was kind of nice and secluded. And then about 25 to 35 kilometres was pretty challenging because the first loop went through the forest, and then the second one was an out and back, which was still lovely, but I just mentally out and back and slightly uphill on the way there as well, I found more challenging. So as I turned around, I put some music on and just ran to it for the last hour and a half, just trying to keep a solid pace. In the last 5 kilometres I realised that I was on to do sub 5, and I've originally planning to do around 5:30, so I just put on some upbeat tunes and just really tried to just use my arms to keep a good pace to be able to come in sub 5, and honestly it was almost hypnotic that last 5k. A couple of things that really helped as well. I think it was around 30 and 35k. I had some friends come to greet me, which was really, really nice, just to see them, and it really lifted my spirits at a point in the race where it was a little bit challenging.
So did you hit the wall at all?
Yeah, so I forgot the wall exists, and I know that sounds really weird, but because I hadn't really watched a lot of people on their marathons, I forgot that it was a concept, so it wasn't even in my mind at all during the race. I can't say that I really noticed I hit it. I did have a bit of like a moment probably around 28k where I felt pretty tired, and I did a little bit of a walk run as I was going up kind of a long, it wasn't a tall hill, but a gradual uphill for quite a while, but that probably lasted about a minute or two, and then I got just back into it. So maybe that's what people mean by the wall, but for me I didn't really hit it. I wasn't really thinking about it. I forgot it was a thing until after the race and got asked, so I was okay with that.
High points and low points?
Good question. So I think probably a few high points was just starting it. I hadn't imagined getting to the start line and starting it and feeling really good and knowing that I'd done all the training. I've got my training in a past video. So I felt proud of myself to getting to that point. Definitely a high point was running through the forest because it smelt wonderful. I just felt out in nature and it was fantastic. Seeing my friends, and then my fourth high point was probably that last 5k, just knowing that I was going to complete it. Low points, probably around that 27k long out and back because I was pretty tired at that point. Were there any other low points that I felt? Yeah, so it was probably that 27k-ish mark, but swiftly got out of that.
Did you walk at all?
Yeah, so I definitely used some walking strategy. The main time that I used it was when going uphill, So there was one or two sizable hills, I think probably about a 30-meter hill, and I decided quite swiftly that it was going to be slower and more tiring for me to probably run up it. So I just did a fast walk up it, and there was a couple of points on the long out and back where I decided with the dragging hill just to walk for 20 meters or so. So what I would do is I'd set myself a point where I'd start running again, and when I walked I made a conscious effort to walk at a pace, just to make sure that I was continually keeping almost the pace that my feet were going even though it was walking, and I think that really helped me get through especially those hard moments with uphill and allowing myself that grace.
Was the course flat?
So it was advertised as flat. I think as courses go, it generally was quite flat. It was 300 meters of elevation in total, so really not bad. But I think I just imagined it being flat like the Cambridge half marathon, which is totally flat, basically. So I was surprised when I saw a little hill right at the start, and then what I would describe as a fairly sizable hill compared to what London is like, for example. But overall, it wasn't a hilly course. I'd probably call it maybe slightly rolling, but I definitely, it worked well.
Did you wear headphones?
Yeah, so I wore my running headphones so that I could, for the first 10K, I didn't listen to anything. And then I had my audiobook and then music. And it worked really nicely. I had them on the entire time just to turn them on when I needed them. But I was definitely glad I had them for some of that race.
Were there aid stations along the way?
Yeah, so the aid stations were really good. So I think there were aid stations every 2.5 kilometres, and the volunteers were so lovely. They were so encouraging. They always had water there, bananas at almost everyone, coffee, portaloos, which were clean. There was never a queue for them, like amazing. And there was also sports drinks. So I really appreciated the fact that I could easily get water, take a couple of sips, put it over myself to make sure I wasn't getting too hot, and then continue on. And can't say enough for how wonderful the volunteers were there just to get us to keep moving.
Is it true that you lost a lot of weight quite quickly at one point during the race?
Yeah, so the time difference between the UK and Cyprus is 2 hours, which meant that my bowels weren't fully adjusted to Cyprus time when I arrived. So the race started at what would be 5 a.m. UK time. So I had to leave probably around 4:30 UK time to get to the race start. And I definitely hadn't had a bowel movement by then. And I thought I'd be fine for most of the race. Probably around 2 hours in, I was like, I really need to go to the toilet. So I did a quick Portaloo stop, which was there, but I found out Portaloos are all there, super clean, and got back on with the race. But I was very relieved there was a nice place to go to the toilet on the way.
Were there any moments that you had any doubts about finishing?
I think there were two moments where I potentially had doubt. One of them was during that kind of 27K stretch where my muscles were fine, but just the impact on my knees, I was beginning to feel it by that point in the race. And because it was also then the furthest that I'd run when I hit 28K, I was like, can I do this? But I decided just to keep moving, because at that point, there was no more turning around. It was just continue going. And then the other point is that when I was taking the large hill back down, probably around 10 kilometres from the finish line, I began to feel a bit of a cramping on my right calf. And I think that was just because I'd been going downhill and I'd been going so flat before. So I just stretched that out and then it felt okay. But when I first felt that, I was like, oh my gosh, is this what they mean by the wheels falling off and you then can't go? But I quickly put it out of my mind, and within a minute the pain had gone. And I purely think it's just because I was going downhill and haven't trained hills at all, and I was just letting myself flow quite quickly down those hills.
How did you feel at the finish?
Very emotional. I was holding back tears for the last probably 2.5K, and also after I saw my friends. So I just couldn't believe that I was there and I had done that. And yeah, it was just amazing to be like, I've actually managed to finish a marathon, which obviously I've been training for it, but the fact that it actually worked out, got to the start line, and finished it and completely smashed the goal that I was even kind of an inkling in my mind that I could possibly do, it just felt absolutely amazing. Obviously I myself felt a little bit sore, so my legs are pretty sore after that, and my feet, because I got a couple of blisters on the outside of my feet on my little toes, and I was wondering, is it a big blister or have I lost my toenails? Big blister. But I quickly kind of took my shoes off and just relaxed, and then kept walking just to keep my legs moving. But yeah, very emotional at the end. And I don't think I recorded any footage of myself from about 15 kilometres onwards, just because I was listening to music and just getting to the end. But it was fantastic.
What was your fueling strategy?
So my fueling strategy was to take a gel every half an hour. So I think I had 11 or so with me. One thing I have found from gels in training is that after quite a lot, I get a bit sick of them. So I basically alternated from around 5 gels into 2.5 hours with having a banana or a banana and a half, and then a gel, and then a banana or a banana and a half. So had some of the solid along with the gel, and I think that worked really well for me, and my energy levels stayed high throughout.
So what were the results?
Yeah, so results-wise, my goals going in were to firstly finish, and secondly, I was hoping to potentially do it around 5:30. I ended up doing it in 5:55 and 40 seconds, I think, which is way above what I was expecting. I obviously had a hope that potentially I could do a 5:15-ish, but I just stayed strong throughout and at a good pace. So, yeah, managed to finished it at a good pace, and it was actually a pretty consistent pace throughout, except for where there were hills where I walked up them a bit more slowly and just let myself flow down them a bit faster.
GP placement, women's GP placement?
Yeah, so one of the things that we were joking at prior to this marathon, I think there was 10 women who did it last year, so we were joking potentially I could be top 10 and then first GB woman. I think there was a lot more women who did it this year, so that was super, super good. So I think there are almost 30 in total, and I think I came around 24th, so still kind of funny that any other marathon I'd never really kept top 25. I'm definitely top 3 GB, just judging by names, but I potentially could be top GB, I don't know. But the fact that I've completed it is in itself enough. It would just been a bit funny if I had done top 10 and definitely top GB. But
are you also bottom GP as well?
I don't think I'm bottom GB, but I don't know, and honestly that isn't what matters. It's all about finishing.
Would you recommend the Nicosia Marathon?
I would actually. I really enjoyed it, and I think it wasn't a huge marathon in terms of like Valencia, where there's like thousands of people going there, and it was insanely organised, which meant that everyone started at the same time. I never felt crowded, and I liked that because I didn't have any issues with aid stations or starting, and there was always enough people around that everyone got quite friendly. So as you ran past someone on like an out and back, you give them a thumbs up or like a bame, like let's go. So everyone was super friendly. However, if you are a runner who just wants to run in a crowd or you need a pacer, they didn't have that. But for me, that didn't matter. And there were lots of people around that I could just follow a certain group of people or someone, but I'm just going to keep a certain distance from them. So for me, it was absolutely fantastic. And the weather was ideal for it as well. Kind of starting in 10 degrees, going up to 18. So a bit warm by the end, but beautifully done, well run, closed roads, lovely people cheering on, and very easy to get to in terms of on race morning. Could just drive over, get dropped off, and there were lots of other people doing other races. There was quite a largely attended half marathon, 10k, 7.5 miler, and a 5k and a kids run. So it was just a lovely kind of running festival that I really enjoyed participating in.
Can we see the medal?
Yeah, so this is the medal. It's actually a really cool, beautifully designed medal. Yeah, so it says Nicosia Marathon, and then it has 10th to 12th, 23. So super proud I've got this.
What are your tips for people who may want to do this in the future?
Yeah, so tips for me in just probably general marathon and then this one. General marathon, it was definitely sticking to the training plan, so I had confidence that I could do it, was definitely one that I go through. And the age old of trying out everything, nothing new on race day, which worked really well. And then a couple of things that worked really well for me is making sure that I had the right kit on, and then a couple of weird ones probably for females that work really well is like Vaseline on the nipples stops them chafing. So that was a fantastic tip that I was given. Having headphones so that I could listen to them if I wanted to, and making sure that I had my fueling down, so I had fuel with me, so I had the energy to complete it. In terms of the Nicosia Marathon, tips if I was to do it again, I don't think I would change anything in particular. If you're coming here for the first time, a couple of tips is maybe just learn a couple of words. So like bame, let's go, aristera dexia, just to know it's all clearly labelled, but just so you know people are saying coming through on the left or right. Other than that, just go for it.
What's next for you?
I don't know. I'm debating what I could do to potentially carry through my fitness. So things that I've realised during this kind of running journey is that I really like being out in nature and running more than road running. So I'm debating if I can potentially maybe not as far of a distance, something just has like more visuals, maybe getting out and doing more hiking, or where you have like UTMB or like Race Snowdon, maybe just doing one of those but not the full distance, is something that I'm debating. And then I'm also debating potentially doing a shorter distance, seeing if I can carry this fitness in to a good time. So just before I went on this journey, I did my 5k PB, which is just under 30 minutes. I'm debating whether I'm going to try that again and see how much time I've reduced, or maybe do a quick training plan on that, or maybe a 10k. But honestly, just relaxing and enjoying the fact that what I've done is, I think I should be proud of myself. So probably not doing anything major until the new year, and just enjoying the time from now until Christmas. So hopefully that gives you a description of what the race was like and my thoughts on it. If you want to see what my training journey was like, I've got the video before this is my training for the marathon. And perhaps if you enjoyed this, you consider liking or subscribing to the channel, and see you at my next challenge, whatever I decide to do. So yeah, Nicosia Marathon completed. Thanks all for supporting me.